Welcome to the Munro Review, where it's all about connecting, sharing, and valuing the arts in the Central San Joaquin Valley. I'm Donald Munro. Today is July 15th, and I am so excited to be back at CMAC for my first in-studio production since, well, everything crashed to a halt because of the pandemic. We kept plugging away at the show during the past 16 months, of course, just like so many of the rest of you. Let's see, I filmed intros and episodes everywhere, from outside the Soroyan Theater to the Forestier Underground Gardens, from North Fork to the Second Space Theater. Probably the most ominous setting, I think, was filming myself with my laptop outside my condo swimming pool last summer while a smoke-choked haze from the fires just sort of filled everything around me. So it's wonderful to be back at CMAC with some social distancing protocols still in place to be on the safe side and get to enjoy the studio again. On this, our first show back, I have a couple of wonderful guests. Gail Perry is here to talk about her Best in Show winning entry at the Arts Alive in Agriculture juried exhibition. I have a report from the field about a new Fresno theater company called URHere, which is already starting to perform. And from yet another Fresno theater group, this one called 63rd Street Productions, we have founder CJ Dion and one of his talented students who's going to be doing a little monologue for us in studio. But first, let's recap some of what I've been covering at MunroReview.com. There's one ongoing theater production that I want to be sure to highlight. The play This Random World is at the Second Space Theater through August 8th. The plot of this one is hard to describe, but you can sort of sum it up by saying that playwright Stephen Dietz is fascinated by coincidences, or what some people would call serendipity. In a series of two-person scenes, we get to know the story behind an aging mother, played by Amelia Ryan, and her two very different children, played by Jessica Rose Knotts and Joseph Hamm. The mother keeps her children at a distance, which is one of the mysteries of the play. We meet other characters too, including ex-boyfriends, ex-girlfriends, a home health aide, and a mortuary employee. And the vignettes that unfold include characters and subplots that seem far removed from the mother's life. Then the pieces, puzzle-like, begin to fit together. It's a brisk and thoughtful play, and even though I'm ambivalent about the play's ending, it's sure to generate discussion among your theater-going party. I'm particularly impressed by Ryan's performance as Scotty, the mother. She adds yet another memorable mother to her list of impeccably played local roles. Also at MunroReview.com, be on the lookout for reviews of two contemporary musicals, both of which will be posted by the time this episode airs. Head Over Heels, using the music of the Go-Go's, is at Selma Arts Center. And Daddy Longlegs, an intimate two-character musical, is at Roger Rocca's Dinner Theater. Now let's get to our first guest. Gail Perry scored the top honors at the recent Arts Alive in Agriculture juried exhibition. Welcome, Gail. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here.
Isn't it great to actually be doing this live rather than Zoom?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Everything has been Zoom,
Absolutely.
Zoom.
Yes, I know. It's a pleasure to be one-on-one with people and with you. Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about the Arts Alive in Agriculture exhibition. That's sponsored by the Fresno Arts Council.
It is.
Had you ever entered that?
No,
before?
I had not entered that. I've been on the art scene or in the art scene for many, many years here locally, but I've been a graphic designer, and this was the first time I was able to enter, so I was excited to be part of this.
And I got to go to the reception, which was beautiful. It was
the San Joaquin River Parkway. It was a very well represented event by, I think, many of the different art organizations that support the Fresno Arts Council. And what a great venue as well.
So now the exhibition is on view at Fresno City Hall through the month of July. Have you gotten to see your painting at City Hall yet?
No, I haven't, but I had an exhibition myself at City Hall a few years ago, a solo exhibition.
So you know what it's like to be at City Hall.
I do. It's a very special place to hang your art.
Well, you must have been really excited to learn that you had won Best in Show. That's quite the honor. There were some pretty amazing artists.
I feel like I was in very good company, and I was very surprised.
Let's talk a little bit about your painting, about your winning painting. Tell us about this. These are strawberry pickers, is that correct?
They are. The painting is titled Honored Toil. And I am very drawn to the human experience and, kind of the rituals of everyday life. I'm especially drawn to the clothing they wear when they work.
And you were telling me that you come from a very hardworking family yourself, so you feel a connection.
I do. I think
to these workers.
Yes, I think that the Valley represents so many different cultures and so many different people that have come here to start their life from different countries. And my family, they were in an industry that also had very hardworking people, very strong backbone. And I think that's what this painting meant to me. I see that labor, and it is steeped in their culture.
And I think you can really see that in the work. When you get to this level, there are going to be lots of paintings of various scenes, but we're also talking about the emotional connection and what you as the artist, bring to the subject. And for me, it's also an example of how you can find these wonderful moments, these little slivers of life that are worth capturing that most of us might just overlook.
And I think that I do try, and I try to capture that. And oftentimes, it is that unique one shot that is able to speak to me, and I'm able to show how something might feel, how it might smell, how the colors can bring the viewer in emotionally, and that's what I try to do with my paintings.
So this particular painting, this was a watercolor?
It was.
Now, I've always heard that watercolor is like the toughest. Is that true?
I think so.
You can't really have do-overs, right?
No, it's very difficult. And I do work in 3 different mediums. I work in acrylic and oil and watercolor. And yes, I know that certain mediums are revered differently, but watercolor is a very difficult medium, and it is always challenging.
Now, I heard through a kindergarten source, that you could draw a pretty mean elephant when you were just in kindergarten.
Oh, gosh. I do remember vividly some of those moments, and my father, I remember he would watch the fights on TV when I was just a child. And it was a, first time, when TV was just beginning. And I would sit on his lap and draw the fighters fighting. So it's always been something I've loved.
Was there an age that you knew this is what you want to do? How old were you?
I think I was in grade school. I was actually selected to attend a summer camp of art at the Fresno Art Museum, and I was very honored to do that. I did that in both 5th grade and in 6th grade.
So those early programs, they can really have an impact.
Absolutely, and I'm such a proponent of art education. I was an instructor at Fresno State, and I had...
And you got your degree from Fresno State, and then
I did.
You went on to...
Art Center College of Design.
A very prestigious institution. You sound like you really have found kind of a way for you to express yourself. Do you feel like that's
I do.
The case?
I do. I think that oftentimes in art, you're expected to do the same thing all the time. And I finally came, I had peace within myself that I like to do a lot of different types of things. And so I don't make any excuses for, why I might do something that shows a lot of realism and then something very contemporary, because I think a lot of those methods are some things that I've learned over the years, and it shows sometimes in my work.
Well, thank you, Gail, for being here and talking about your work. Maybe we can close by you just saying something about agriculture. I would really want to encourage people to come and see this entire exhibition.
Absolutely. It is, the event is sponsored by many of the agricultural giant companies that are here in the Central Valley. We are the breadbasket, and it is a subject that is endless. And I think I have a total bucket list of paintings that I could love doing in the future.
Lots of stuff still on
absolutely.
Your to-do list.
And as I said, I was in wonderful company. There are so many wonderful artists here in the Valley, and I think we all have camaraderie with one another to push it forward and let the world see what we're able to do here. It's a very thriving community, and I believe in the arts, and I believe in art education, and I hope that I can bring the viewer in to experience my work.
Well, thank you, Gail. I really strongly recommend that you go check out this show. It's a really great show. Now, let's shift to some theater news. Earlier this summer, I covered a big story from a new theater company called URHere. The company held a reception for donors and announced its first season, which includes a series of staged readings at the Second Space Theater and a full production of the play Sweat, the 2017 Pulitzer Prize winner for drama. This nonprofit arts collaborative is committed to, quote, creating opportunities for underrepresented populations to share their stories on stage and beyond. And here's Julie Lucido, president of the URHere Board of Directors, talking about the new company. There she is, Julie Lucido. So you are the president of URHere Theater.
I am the president of URHere Theater.
And we're also here with Jonathan Hogan. Hi. And you are the vice president. I am. So, Julie, tell us exactly what you're announcing in just a couple minutes.
So we're very excited. URHere Theater has been born in this pandemic. So we were able to inherit the infrastructure from Fourth Wall Theater Company from Visalia. Their board was, retiring. So we got to take over their nonprofit number. But we are a whole new thing. We want to represent underrepresented voices and produce top public theater. So to that, we're announcing what we call the 222 test pilot program. It's the second Saturdays at Second Space Theater at 2 p.m. Test pilot stage reading program. So we're going to actually give a sampling of some of the type of work we want to fully produce. This past year, there's been the Backyard Readers Theater Lab. This is the 2.0 of that. This is basically coming in public, producing for real. So tonight was a very small group because we're still in a pandemic in the backyard, just saying, hey, if you really identify with our vision and what we want to do, we would love the support, because we're going to be a scrapping young theater company, hoping people show up and see these stories we want to tell.
So there are a lot of decisions to be made, where you're going to produce the stuff, all sorts of stuff like that. So it must be exciting to kind of be in the planning phase.
It is. Our whole board, we've been madly working. We're researching venues. We're seeing what we can fit in our budget. So it depends on how much money we can raise this summer as far as where we can produce. Looking for community partnerships that might recognize, hey, I identify with that story. I would love to produce that piece, that play. And much like Bertle, each of our productions will start with a dramaturg, and we'll have talkbacks after, because we want to kind of extend and really connect. It's not theater, it's community, is our slogan.
And I should say that, yes, this is Julie Lucido, who is the director of Matilda, who has I don't know how many lives you're living at one time. You are involved in so much, but it's great to see you doing this new project. The next URHere production is a staged reading of The Last Best Small Town by John Guerra at the Second Space Theater. Speaking of new theater endeavors, it's time to welcome our second set of guests. CJ Dion is founder of 63rd Street Productions, which he describes as a new community collective educating in theater, dance, and technical stage arts. Welcome, CJ.
Hello there, how are you?
And we are joined by one of your illustrious students, Reina
Estes. Yeah.
Thank you for coming.
Of course.
And you're going to actually be doing a little performance for us.
Yes, I will.
Yeah. So it's always exciting to learn about new theater in the Fresno area. What can you tell us about 63rd Street, and how did it get that name? There isn't a 63rd Street in Fresno.
Exactly. A lot of people have been asking me about that. 63rd Street kind of came from, my life has always been a hybrid of sports and theater. My grandfather was the head coach at Fresno State for a very long time, so football numbers were always around me, and I played football. And once I finally got my number, which was 63, I kind of clung to it. And then throughout my life, 63 kind of always popped up. Like, it was like the first time I got my out of town casting, it happened to be 36, like 2:36 on the clock. And I, of course, as the actor, he's like 63. So, and then my first apartment in New York was on 63rd Street. And to me, that was like the dream come true. Like, my life began here. And that's why we have the logo, It Starts Here, because that's when, wherever your life begins, 63rd Street Productions, kind of like, that's the idea behind that. But yeah, right now we're just, I'm focusing on education, acting, dance, and stage management, things like that. And we're offering directing this fall as well.
And then you're hoping eventually to expand or to evolve.
Once the ball's kind of rolling in that direction, we're hoping to become a full-fledged theater company. One can only hope that we become like a Roger Rocca's or a CMT, where you have a full season and you can do production after production. This is the early stages, and so yeah, we're moving in that direction.
So Reina, I understand that I've seen you on stage before, and that you actually came very close to, was it bewitching me or
just touching you with my hand?
Okay,
and
okay.
I did.
What show was that?
That was James and the Giant Peach, and I played Spiker.
And that was for Children's Musical
CMT,
Theater
yes.
Works. How long have you been acting?
I have been acting until I was 6. I don't know how many years that is, but until I was 6, yes.
So you've really kind of gotten bitten by the acting bug.
Yeah, I've enjoyed just being in a different character, like evil or good. It's just really fun to play.
Because you played an evil character in James, right?
Yes,
you
I
were
did.
one of those.
Very fun. Yeah.
Those nasty ants. Now, I understand that you also appeared in the first 63rd Street
Yes.
production, which had to be on Zoom.
Yeah.
Of course, everything was on Zoom, right? What character did you play?
I played Tinkerbell in the play Tinkerbell.
It was a new play. It's for theater for youth, and it was from her perspective, Tinkerbell's perspective. And it kind of worked because there was a lot of moments where she would turn into the light and then turn into the character. So, I mean, this play had to have a big budget if you were going to do it for real. So it worked on Zoom because we could do the tricks with the lights and the bell and things like that.
So I'm curious, CJ, did you have a theater instructor or a teacher in your life who
clicked with me?
Who clicked with you?
Two of them are in Fresno, actually. Yeah, Biz Feaster and Brad Myers.
Okay, okay. How important is it then to have that sort of mentor or someone to kind of?
I think that I've enjoyed all the acting professors I've worked with, even some of the professional directors. I think that when you click with someone, you really click. And there are times in life when you can speak to an actor or that relationship is very felt. And Biz and I have that. Biz can tell me something kind of obscure and she'll be like, that's what I'm going for. And I kind of know what direction she's going in. And Reina and I had that kind of vibe the first time we worked together, which was James. We were talking about something very trivial about the character, and I mentioned nails, and then she was like, oh. And then we were like, yeah, I'm gonna have really long nails and it'll be crazy. And so we just kind of moved on. Then you know, relationships happen, so.
And you said you feel like you can really develop a rapport with some of your students. When did you figure out that teaching acting was a real love for you?
I think it's my enthusiasm for the craft. I've always been a student of the craft, and it's one of those things where I come from a football dynasty, and like it's not around me at all. And I gravitated towards the theater, and so it's kind of something says to me that, like, you know, it's in you, it's there, and so things bring it out. And so I was the football player that was listening to Les Mis before the football games, when everyone else was listening to like Metallica, you know. So it's just like what motivates you and what drives you in theaters. That for me.
And what kind of encouragement do you give kids in terms of acting? Because it can be a really tough business, so you have to really kind of build up.
I think that the one thing I encourage is that they find that one thing that makes them innately unique. It's very trivial, you know, everyone's got that thing, but it really is true. Once you can find that thing inside you that you have that no one else has, that spark, and you can yield it, you can hit it out of the ballpark every time. And I have a quality in seeing that in kids and kind of bringing them out of that and like kind of coaxing that kind of energy out of them. And there's something about working with youth that like really feels that I connect with them, and they're not intimidated by me, and like we kind of like speak the same language. It might be me like healing my inner child, because I wanted to be at theater practice instead of football practice, but you know.
So are you still a football fan?
No, not really, and my family's gonna hate me for saying that, but
You'd
no.
rather be watching the Tony Awards.
I had to say that to them. I was like, you know, let me put it this way. If there was every weekend, there was Broadway show after Broadway show after Broadway show, and then critiques of that and stuff, would you watch it? They were like, no. And I said, well, that's how I feel about football. They were like, oh, I get it now. Okay. So.
And if you looked maybe just say 10 years in the future, what would be your dream for 63rd Street?
That we like, you know, everyone's excited for what's the new season in 63rd Street. I'm not one of those people that aspires to do like groundbreaking stuff, but I do enjoy thinking outside the box, and I do enjoy kind of like trying to reinvent what's already there, things like that. I want to keep it local. I love Fresno. I was in New York for 8 years. I came back here, and it's never been a place that I think, you know, like, oh, I have to be in Fresno. I love Fresno, and it's this community that I want to build it in. So yeah. Well,
great. Well, is there anything else that people should know about?
Enrollment's coming up next week. We're starting classes again, and things are happening. It's all on the website, 63rdstreetproductions.com.
Okay. All right. Yeah. And Raina, what are you going to? You're going to do a little monologue for us.
Yes. I will be playing Olivia from like a Shakespeare.
Twelfth Night
or something. And then Shelby from Steel Magnolias.
And is there one that's harder for you than another?
I think Shelby probably, because there's different emotions she has, and it's hard to remember and hard to express a lot of the time, but it's really fun. Well,
this is wonderful, and thank you so much for coming and doing this. Yeah. It takes some guts to get up on TV and do that. So after a moment, we will be back for a monologue from Raina Estes. Here are two short monologues from Raina Estes, who will be performing Olivia from Twelfth Night and Shelby from Steel Magnolias.
Mama, listen. I have it all planned. I'm going to be very careful, and this time next year, I'm going to be bringing your big healthy grandbaby to the Christmas festival. No one is going to be hurt or disappointed or even inconvenienced. You are jealous. You are jealous because you no longer have a say-so in what I do, and that drives you up the wall. You are ready to spit nails because you can't call the shots. Whenever any of us asked you what you wanted us to be when we grew up, what did you say? Just tell me what you said. Answer me. You said you only wanted us to be happy. And the thing that would make me happy is to have a baby. If I could adopt one, I would, but I can't. I'm going to have a baby. I wish you'd be happy too. Mama, I don't know why you have to make everything so difficult. I look at having this baby as an opportunity of a lifetime. And sure, there may be some risk involved, but that is true for anybody. But you get through it and life goes on. And when it's all said and done, there'll be a little piece of immortality with Jackson's looks and my sense of style, I hope. Mama, please, I need your support. I would rather have 30 minutes of wonderful than a lifetime of nothing special. What is your parentage? Above my fortunes, yet my state is well. I'm a gentleman. I'll be sworn thou art. Thy tongue, thy lips, thy face, actions, and spirit do give thee 5 full blazon. Not too fast. Soft, soft. Unless the master were the man. How now? Even so quickly may one catch the plague. Methinks I feel this youth's perfection with an invisible and subtle stealth to creep at mine eyes. Well, let it be.
Thank you so much, Raina. Yeah. It really does take a lot to get up there and do. Is that an audition monologue? Is that what you would call that?
A package.
A package.
We've been doing it for a long time, and I
Well,
really enjoyed this.
Well, thank you. And I'm so glad that both of you were able to come down and share our return to CMAC. Well, that wraps it up for this month's episode of the Munro Review. Be sure to keep up online at munroreview.com for previews, giveaways, profiles, reviews, and more. A big thank you to our crew, and a thank you to all our guests, Gail Perry, Julie Lucido, CJ Dion, and Raina Estes. And for all of you, please keep exploring and supporting the local art scene. We'll see you next time.